This is TJ from TJ Stuff, and this review of Star Trek Into Darkness contains spoilers. If you haven't seen this movie yet, you might want to wait before listening to this review. Director J.J. Abrams' 2009 Star Trek was an exhilarating reboot of the original TV series franchise. By simply using the plot device of a disturbance in the timeline, the original series chronometer was reset to 0. In one fell swoop, the franchise was freed from decades of canon, and the filmmakers and series are now literally free to go where no one has gone before. So I have to wonder why, for this second film, Star Trek Into Darkness, the same production team decided to not only dip heavily into pre-established canon, but also to mirror scenes from what is considered to be the best Star Trek film ever, Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. I especially have to wonder in lieu of the fact that the film didn't need to do this, because they already had a good story without it. Now, if you're not familiar with Trek lore, one of its main appeals has been its very positive portrayal of the future. Mankind has put aside its cultural and religious differences and has learned how to live together peacefully. War and poverty, on Earth at least, has been eliminated. Starfleet, from the beginning of the original series, was established as a semi-military organization. Yes, it's a peacekeeping force for Earth and the United Federation of Planets, but it's also dedicated to exploration and providing humanitarian help to other worlds too. But the events from the 2009 film, Earth nearly being destroyed by Nero, have set at least one head of Starfleet, Admiral Marcus, down a very dark path. In spite of the fact that Nero was a rogue Romulan and not affiliated with the Romulan government, and also from an alternate future timeline no less, he is convinced that Starfleet's enemies are everywhere, that war with one of them is imminent, and that there are no other alternatives. Starfleet must become a full-on military war machine. To make this happen, he sets a covert plan into motion. He creates a one-man terrorist threat on Earth, who at first, we are told, is a rogue Starfleet officer named John Harrison. Admiral Christopher Pike, Kirk's only father figure, is a victim of these terrorist attacks. Kirk is beset with grief over this, and Admiral Marcus takes advantage of this to manipulate Kirk into using the Enterprise to go after Harrison, who has fled to a Klingon world. Kirk thinks his mission is to either eliminate or bring this terrorist back to justice. But Admiral Marcus's real plan is to use Kirk and the Enterprise to start an intergalactic incident that will incite a war between the Klingons and the Federation. Kirk, who is blinded by his own need for vengeance, is questioned by his own crew. Early on, Scotty, who smells that all is not right, even resigns his post as a result. So right there we have a pretty good story setup and a good basis for some real conflict, and that means good drama. So why then did they feel the need to suddenly make this Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan Redux? As it turns out, the one-man terrorist threat is none other than Khan Noonien Singh, one of the 76 genetically enhanced super soldiers from the Eugenics War, the same Khan who thwarted the crew of the Enterprise in the original series episode Space Seed and in Star Trek II. Only this time he's British, for no real apparent reason. Midway through, the film shifts gears from being a 9/11 analogy to a quasi-remake of Star Trek II, and even goes so far as to mirror the famous death of Spock scene from that film, but this time with the roles reversed. And once again, as I think about this, I have to keep wondering, why? Star Trek has always been known for using science fiction to mirror and explore the issues of the times that surround it. It's clear that at the beginning, this film is trying to become a 9/11 analogy, to raise questions about the wisdom and consequences of blindly trusting your leaders and letting your passions guide your judgment during a time of worldwide crisis. And while it doesn't kill the film for me, I feel that using Khan in this film detracts from that theme. Remove the name Khan, and this character could have been any one of the 76 super soldiers, and the film would have worked out just as well. Also, I feel it's too early to bring Khan into this new franchise's timeline. Part of what made Star Trek II work so well is that there was some history between Khan's first appearance in the original 60s series and his reappearance in the 1980 film, both literally and figuratively. There was some resonance to it that doesn't exist in this film because Kirk and Khan have now had no previous interaction. Like I said, this story could have worked out just as well and maybe even better without using Khan. And speaking of resonance, I have to wonder how this film is going to play to anybody whose only experience with Star Trek was this film's 2009 predecessor. John Harrison's reveal to Kirk as Khan is trumpeted with dramatic music, as if to say, "You weren't expecting this now, were you?" This moment must have meant nothing to those who have only seen the preceding Star Trek film. It also means nothing to Kirk, since once again, in this timeline, the two have had no previous history. It also ended up meaning little to longtime fans, since most of them had guessed that Harrison was Khan after the first trailer was released. Now, I want to make it clear that using Khan in this film does not ruin the picture for me. I enjoyed the movie, but when I walked out of Trek 2009, my first reaction was, wow, I already can't wait for the next one. I'm still looking forward to the third film, and I still had a good time in the theater watching this one. But I certainly feel like there were some missed opportunities. First of all, if you are going to do a 9/11 analogy like The Dark Knight did, then do a 9/11 analogy and don't be timid about it. Secondly, the 2009 resetting of the original series timeline was an opportunity to boldly go where no one has gone before. Instead, it retreaded what we've already seen. Into Darkness ends where the original series begins, with Kirk, Spock, and the crew embarking on the 5-year mission. So here's hoping that in the next film, we finally do explore strange new worlds. I gave Star Trek 2009 3.5 out of 4 stars for reinvigorating the Star Trek franchise in such an exciting and positive way. I'm giving Star Trek Into Darkness only 2.5 stars out of 4. It's fun, but it could have easily been so much more. This is TJ, and thanks for listening.